Of course, we finally get answers in what I would call a very solid episode of Secret Invasion right at the penultimate episode, but will it be enough to redeem this series? What's up, Nerdgenic Nation? Superhero nerd Aaron Waller here, and today I wanted to talk about episode 5 of Marvel and Disney Plus series Secret Invasion called The Harvest. After a failed attack on the US president, Gravik has to reformulate his plan a bit while dealing with some unrest amongst his fellow Skrulls. Meanwhile, Fury is on the run and is finally starting to make some moves on his own. And while I was watching this episode, I really had to ask myself, where has this show been this entire time? Because this episode was surprisingly good. For the first time in this series, I can honestly say that I didn't really want the episode to end. I liked it that much. It had a few action scenes, some pretty great espionage on both fronts, and we finally got some answers to what and where this story is finally going. The action scene with Gaia and Fury's wife Vara was a little over the top, but very reminiscent of 90s and early 2000s action movies, with them going back to back, with masked bad guys coming left, right, and even crashing through the glass ceiling. And I especially love the guy who was left hanging on the line by the end of the fight. That felt like the cherry on top of the scene. As for the espionage angle, seeing Fury actually use technology that we actually haven't seen since Black Widow with the veil was actually kind of cool. And speaking of Black Widow, we even got a cameo from Natasha's friend Mason the pilot, who I honestly thought we would never see again. Meanwhile, Gravik continues to be, if not the most, one of the top 2 most interesting characters this show has to offer, as he deals with his people revolting against his plan, and the only things really keeping him somewhat still at the top at this point are his combat training and his Super Skrull abilities. And I know that he's the villain and will likely be killed off by the finale next week, as is Marvel typically does with their villains, but I think this might be one of the more interesting lower tier villains Marvel's had in quite some time. As for Fury, it was nice to see him a bit more in his element and feeling like the Nick Fury that we know. And I especially loved his "Are you out of your Skrull ass mind" when he confronted Rhodey, and it was kind of cool to see him quote unquote suit up with his equipment. It just felt good to see those things again, and when he got on his eye patch and his coat, I really felt like it symbolized the show finally getting in the game just like Fury was. But perhaps the biggest reveal of this episode is what Gravik has been after and Fury has stashed away, which is, as the title of this episode, The Harvest. This is essentially the DNA of superheroes collected by Skrulls in disguise led by Gravik after the Battle of Earth in Avengers Endgame. And this DNA will essentially help the Skrulls become even stronger Super Skrulls with the help of their machine, as Gravik has already collected some, like the Groot DNA we mentioned and have seen him use in previous episodes, as well as this one. And seeing how this will all play out in the finale next week will be pretty interesting, as we know that Fury is on his way to confront Gravik and bait him with the Harvest. But as I mentioned last week, and as we've seen in the trailers, Fury will likely end up getting his butt kicked, or at least until he has a better hand in the game, or Gaia shows up to exact her revenge and they tag team to take him down. I just wish that this was the show that we were getting the whole time. It genuinely capitalized on all of the setup and elements that we've been dancing around for the past few episodes, and if they'd done this the whole time, it would have been such a better show, even if they didn't follow the source material as the director was advised not to do. Sure, the first episode was mostly just to establish a lot of these elements, the second episode was a pretty decent one, but the third and the fourth were absolute stinkers, and could have easily been condensed for much more epic episodes like this one that we got here, and hopefully with the finale. But we'll have to wait until next week to find out if it will, at the very least, end on a high note. But anyway, those are my thoughts on episode 5 of Secret Invasion, and I want to hear from you in the Nerdgenic community. Do you think that it was as good as I did, or do you think that it was a dud? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below, and while you're down there, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell notification so you don't miss out on any future videos, as well as my thoughts on the next episode of Secret Invasion. But also be sure to give us a follow across all social media platforms at Nerdgenic. That way you don't miss out on any special news, announcements, or articles at nerdgenic.com. And in the meantime, if you want even more video content from us, check out my thoughts on the previous episode of Secret Invasion right over here, or for more Marvel content, check out this playlist right over here. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, we really do appreciate it, and we hope to see you in the next video.